Hey, I'm just out here on some of my in-between time. I've been doing the Cage-free mechanic, a free automotive clinic all day Black Friday out here in the parking lot. Just cleaned some throttle bodies, did some oil change stuff. Took a little bit of time. Nobody's here for a minute. I've been trying to get this video done for you guys. I'm DJ, stylish transient. I've been on a spiritual adventure for the last decade or something like that. I didn't use money for all that time. I hitchhiked the country from homesteads to humanitarian projects to social justice movements. I wrote 4 books, philosophical adventures and spiritual unravelings, and found myself somehow the firekeeper and the groundskeeper and the dishwasher and the best friend to the coolest medicine man ever. The same reservation where we do unsheltered earth, where we build earth bag houses, like sandbag houses, and survive South Dakota blizzards in our little tiny home, 4 of us. It's cold out here. I did all this while cultivating a way to be able to pour my energy, my heart vibration into the universe, into the world, into community. As I've manifested an abundance beyond anything I ever could have dreamed up. If you follow me, I met the love of my life, found the love of my life. I'd already known her and found her, and I just had the most amazing, beautiful little baby. We somehow lucked into this little house right on the river. Our backyard's the river. Across the street's the hardware store, the candy shop, the library. Landed my dream job developing this after-school program with high school kids, content creation. I have this rad mutual aid community. It's a free thrift store inside there, free kitchen, soup kitchen. And I do cage-free mechanic, free automotive clinic out here. Normally every Thursday it's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I'm out here right now just on this Black Friday. Super consumerist holiday, everyone, all this money exchanging hands, and I'm just gifting. I'm giving my energy, And that, I just helped somebody else and just did this repair that would have cost them a couple $100 to do that, But because it saved them that money, they were able to probably not have to work that extra shift so that they could afford their Christmas for their kids. So now they have that extra time that they could go volunteer and do something, maybe come back here to work in the kitchen of the thing, we're all here weaving this mosaic, We all have a little piece of that puzzle, a little jigsaw piece of this puzzle. It's like those earth bag houses that I build, There are all these little sand particles that are like jigsaw-shaped little... And then when you tamp them, the vibration from that, the energy from that, locks all these little puzzle pieces into place, and that's what creates the strength of that earth bag house, Or there's in the earth, the sand, Cafe Bustello straight powder. This is the secret to getting all the stuff done that I do. We put straw mixed in with that sand and clay, and that straw, that's like those little threads of arm. I talk about that we're all here, this little thread of time, this thread of life, this thread of energy, this vibration that's turning into matter as we're tying this whole grand mosaic, this whole grand tapestry that we're putting together of all of the cosmos, 8 billion little threads being woven right now, currently. And that's all weaving together. And your experience here as you're converting energy into matter is your thread, and then that space that's in between, that's the intimate relation that we're creating, and we live in a system that wants all that separated and everybody individualized and not with, community and relation and having genuine experience like that. But that's really what experience is. It's all a reflection. Consciousness is all about just a reflection of consciousness and being able to, we're dewdrops on this little spider web fishnet, and the reflection of your dewdrop within mine and my version of you, and this, putting all that together, that's what the experience is. So think about this tapestry, right? So we're all these little threads of this tapestry that's being woven together. If you backed out to another dimension, another perspective, to God or your higher self or whatever, you back up and you can see this whole tapestry, and now it makes sense. And maybe those sad things or ups and downs that didn't make sense when you're within it, when you're within the limitations of time, the limitations of this three-dimensional reality of matter, and then spread through time. Oh, wait, it's bad. You know, you might not notice why those colors and that contrast is there, and then when you back out and you take in this whole perspective of this whole tapestry, you know, it's probably hanging up in front of a window, right? And now once light is pouring through that tapestry, pouring through the spaces in between all of these threads, once energy is flowing between the space between all these threads, that we are all these threads, tying this whole tapestry, this whole mosaic, your experience through time, this linear experience, creating this thread, interwoven with all these other threads. And light and energy vibrates, pours in between all those threads, because those threads block out that light, because those threads are matter. Light doesn't go through the matter. That's what filters it out. And so the light, the energy, the love that's pouring in between all these threads, that's the story. Matter only accounts for a couple percent or whatever of the universe. There's all this other unseen stuff, you know. That's the story. You know, it's that light that's pouring through that. You know, it's like when we talk about that film strip. Your ego is that film strip through which you can experience this white conscious light of everything of all, you know. Because everything of all, this white light of everything, that tapestry is in front of, that film strip of ego is in front of, it's a projector, right? It's a projector of just white light on the wall. If you walked into a room and you just saw just a white square from that, you know, overhead projector, movie projector, whatever it is, that's white light is all of everything. If you put a prism up to it, it would refract out a rainbow, right? It's everything. But you'd walk in the room and you'd say, well, nothing's on. There's nothing on in here. Where's the movie? Blank. It's blank. It's everything, you know. But everything all at once feels blank, you know. It's only by limiting that frequency of all of everything of that light, you know, that's how you're able to experience anything, you know. Everything feels like nothing, so you have to block out something to feel anything else. And so that's what your ego does. It's this film strip of these condensed vibrations of energy, which colors on this film strip. Obviously, it's interdimensional and a lot more complicated, but blocks out some of that white light. It helps you to forget some of that white light. Forget that you're the universe, that you're God, that you're infinite consciousness, that you're any of that or all of that. Because only by experiencing part of it can you experience any of it, you know. And so that light that pours through that film strip, or ego, blocks that out and tethers you into this material space and allows you to have this material experience. Because if you were here fully remembering everything, then you wouldn't get to have this experience of figuring out stuff. You wouldn't get to have the experience of remembering that you're God, or the universe, or infinite white light, or great cosmic river, or whatever it is, atop the mountain of enlightenment. Whew. It's cold out here too. It's snowing. You know, you think about like this white projector light. It's all of everything. You know, you can also think about it. That's that great cosmic guitar string. Great cosmic bass player, guitar, we'll call it. Guitar's hanging on the wall, the string's hanging on the wall, the string's still. The string's got the infinite potential of every song that could ever be played, could be played on that guitar. 8 billion people could pick up this guitar and play a different song, right? But it's none of those songs. You know, the string is none of those songs. The string is everything all at once. The string is completely still, completely just sitting there. in a full state of matter. You know, that string is not in motion, it's completely stopped. You look at it, it's completely still matter, you know exactly where it's at. Just like maybe the singularity of the universe. If you rewound the universe, they say, you know, all this energy would go back into this most condensed state of matter. You can think of that as just strings. It's just a bunch of tightly wound strings. You know, if energy is a vibration, and you chart a vibration, it looks like a little squirrel, a little spiral. So if you think that that is just a string, that then you could weave tighter and tighter and tighter and more condensed, and you could condense these particles into the most condensed matter, you know, tighter than rocks and iron and all these things, and even more compact into the singularity, which is the infinite potential of everything, but it's nothing, you know, there's no story. There's no experience, there's no unexpected, because everything's all right there. It's that white light of the projector up on the wall. So someone comes along and plucks that singularity, plucks that guitar string, sends it into motion, right? Now all of a sudden this guitar string's in vibration. There's experience, there's story, there's music, there's song. There's uncertainty, you know. You look at that string and you see it moving. You can see through that string, the guitar string, you know, you can see through it. Or you can focus on any particular point and you see the string at that point, right? It's moving. Just like particle physics talks about, you know, everything at its core is a vibrating particle, is a vibration until observed, and then it turns into a particle. It's in superposition, they call it. It's all in everywhere and nowhere all at once. It can be in two places at the same time. You can split a photon and take the two halves across the universe and they act instantaneously together. So you imagine all this energy of the universe tightly wound into this tight little string, you know, because everything's energy or matter. That's Einstein, E equals mc squared, and particle physics, and so that singularity is all wound tightly. It's like little strings tied into little cords, tied up into ropes and tied into knots and cables, and thumped it apart, and it turned all immediately into all these separated vibrations, you know. Subatomic particles, quarks, then maybe into hydrogen, came together and exploded back out into hydrogen and helium, and it's a little bit more tightly wound, you know, another extra electron tightly wound around there. Explode out, come back into iron and rocks and all kinds of stuff. And so we are in this space of this energy coming back into a place of matter. You know, our experience matters. Our experience is the process of this infinite potential energy that exploded out from this Big Bang, the singularity, converting back into certainty. And we do that through that film strip of ego. It's your tether into this three-dimensional limited experience, because only by limiting the experience and not experiencing everything all at once, that's the only way you can experience anything. And so you can function just purely in that space, just purely in that ego type space. Three-dimensional matter space. Lots of people do it for their whole lifetime, you know, and that's where the grid, the system, they want you functioning in that space, you know. That's the space where you have to figure everything out. Your ego has to figure everything out. You have to micromanage everything. Because you can't, you know, acknowledge or can't trust your intuition, or that there's something else at play, you know. It's like I talk about the mountain of enlightenment, right? And I talk about a lot of stuff on my shorts, so I was doing shorts before I was doing this. So if you need to catch up, there's probably a short about any of these little nuggets that I talk about. But the mountain of enlightenment, right? So it's this mountain and all these different paths that are going up it. And, some paths have like this guidebook that you can follow, and the millions of people follow the same path. And it's easy enough. You can slug along. Might be a leader up front that talks to the chief up at the top of the mountain for you. Trying to do things just purely in the ego, the material space, the science space. Science is the study of matter from within matter, basic tools that are built out of matter, and so it can figure all that stuff out. Obviously it's not its job to figure anything else outside of that. But so you're at the bottom of this mountain of enlightenment, and maybe you think that matter and material and functioning within this space, having to do stuff the hard way, or going to work for this other thing that's not really in alignment with your heart, but that's what you got to do to pay the bills. Holy cow, that's a big mouthful. So that's like digging a hole through the mountain, right? If you're at point A on one side of the mountain, you're trying to get to point B on the other side. Just functioning purely with ego, material, matter, science, what's right in front of you. This space, it's like digging a hole right through the mountain, which is the quickest way to get from point A to point B. Math and science and all of them would agree. It's going to be a lot of work. You could dig through the mountain. You could get more people. You could enslave a nation to dig through this tunnel through the mountain, and that's going to make it the easiest for the people that are calculating and dissecting and micromanaging. It's a lot of work. It's going to take your whole lifetime to dig this hole through this mountain. You got to dig this hole with tools made out of the mountain, out of that matter, to dig through. You could do it by the time you get to the other side, which is where all of society and everything told you needed to go. And you're too worn out. Your wheels have fallen off, so they retire you. You forgot why you even were going to the other side of the mountain. If you try to say, why are we doing this? Why don't we try and figure out another way? They call you lazy. Sitting around wasting time, you should be digging. You got to go dig twice as fast. Work 2 jobs to dig them. But you can make it happen. You can be successful in life by only working within that space. It's material matter space. You also could develop and practice and hone your ability to listen to your intuition, to listen to the energetic flow of how things are going. The sun's coming out at that moment. It's pretty nice to notice. Sorry about that. Somebody pulled up. I had to switch a fuse real quick. Yeah, I'm just doing this whole free mechanic thing out here. And so that's, we're talking about this mountain, right? We're digging this tunnel through this mountain because that's material matter way, just trying to do stuff only from within the matter space, and you got to figure everything out from what's here in the logical way of doing things. And they'll tell you you're lazy if you want to sit back and not do that. But maybe sitting back, we were sitting right here doing this. It was cold and then the sun comes out. Maybe sitting back allows you to tune in with just the natural cycles flowing around you. This doesn't even have to be hippie woo-woo, nothing like that, I can see the clouds, the cycles of the clouds, the cycles of the wind, this unseen energy force that's happening around me. I can recognize that, tune into that, develop my ability to be able to be present with that, to experience that, to understand it, to harness it, to understand that the sun's going to come out as that cloud moves. Understanding the cycles of day and night, of the earth, and recognizing, wait, I don't need to dig this tunnel through this mountain because it's nighttime. Why do I do that? It takes way more energy. You got to heat yourself. It takes more energy of your body, of electricity, heat, light, all this different stuff. Matter and material right in the way, saying just get it done as fast as you can, straight through. But if you recognize, wait, there's a cycle of energy. There's wait till this energy is in my favor. Wait till the sun comes up. Now I can do this more efficiently. Now the sun lights up. That holy cow, there's a path right around on the other side. I don't have to dig this tunnel at all. There's a path that goes right with the curve, with the flow, with the energetic flow of the mountain of enlightenment. Waiting and recognizing that, or getting onto that, that's not being lazy. That's being smart and efficiently harnessing the flow of energy, the natural cycles of energy. It's not being an idiot, not just fighting this uphill battle where nothing is working out, and so you try twice as hard. Then maybe you recognize the wind, or you recognize the unseen energies, or you recognize other things that you can use to your advantage. It's not about not working, manifestation or energy or any of this. It's not about not doing stuff. You do a lot more. I work way more harder now that I'm doing the kind of stuff I do now. I'm out here fixing cars for free in the cold. It's snowing, literally. But it's on my heart, I didn't put my life on hold to be out here doing this. This is my life. I get to be on here, talking with you guys in between. We're live streaming whenever cars show up on Cage Free. I get to be fixing cars, and so I put that energy out into this energetic space. Opportunities line up. It's about manifesting. It's about opening up doorways and opportunities and meeting the right people, chance encounters, as we're tying the threads on this great cosmic tapestry. It's up to you. You have to step through that doorway. You have to take advantage of that opportunity. You have to put the energy into that thing, You have to develop your ability to be able to even recognize those opportunities when they come up. Manifestations, it's a two-part thing. It happens within both the material space and within the energetic space. You just lay in bed all day trying to manifest stuff and don't actually go out and do the thing. Try and manifest becoming an excellent guitar player and never practice guitar. It's not going to work. It's not like it just happens to you. If you're out there praying for something, holy cow, it's not just given to you. It's given to you in hard lessons. Don't go praying for strength or patience or humility in my case. Holy cow, hard lessons. And then you have to do the lesson, or you have to do the opportunity when it comes up. Then you're becoming more aware of the flow of the space, maybe in the foot of this mountain, because you've been, they're telling you need to be digging this hole right through this mountain of enlightenment to get to the other side. Because where you've been at, it's just what's right in front of you. All you see is the mountain here, and for a long time all you saw was trees. You didn't really know you're in a forest. You're just calculating the trees, categorizing the trees, counting them, cutting them in half, figuring out the cells, the cellular structure. Well, this is all that exists, is this tree, because this is all that I can see. And now obviously there's trees around us. Then all of a sudden you realize, wait, that's actually a forest. You step back a little bit and you're like, oh, this is a greater picture we're looking at. And then you come to the edge of the forest and realize, holy cow, there's a whole mountain. I thought I was all of existence. Where I was at was on this one perspective, this one dimension. Now you've stepped back enough and allowed your intuition and what felt right and resonated on your heart and worked out of your heart space enough that things have lined up enough to where you've stepped back and the daylight's come, and now you realize there's these paths that go up the mountain. There's millions of paths that climb up this mountain, right? Which one? This one says it's the only one, and any of the other ones is going down to the bottom. So that's probably the one you want to go with, but a lot of people have walked that one. It's easy enough, but it's a slow path getting up there, There's a bunch of other paths, and maybe you take that one and you fall off that one and you meander around for a while, but you're always still kind of climbing that mountain. Up to the top, it's harder when you're not like on a path, it's like rocks and leaves and you're sliding around, and you're still climbing up to the top. And the higher you get, the higher you climb up this mountain of enlightenment, the higher your perspective you get. You turn around and look, now you can see the forest, you can see the trees, you can see, when I was down there, I thought that was all that existed. And now from here, I can see that's just like what this stuff is made out of, And you can see that all the paths are connecting. They're all headed to that same top, the top, the ultimate perspective. The higher you get, the further you can see around, the further you can see out. And eventually, if you got to the top, you'd see everywhere. You'd see those guys at the bottom digging that tunnel all the way through and be like, oh, those guys are kind of idiots. But you get to the top and it'll be so much fun, you'd want to go back down to the other side and start over. Because the journey, the climb, that's the fun part, And yeah, studying the trees, studying the matter, studying the material, studying the science of the material world from within the material world, the matter. Well, that's nice. That's good. It's important. It makes climbing that mountain easier to have an understanding of physics. Have an understanding of gravity. You don't have to fill out an equation or be able to do anything like that. But to be able to just understand the gravity, how that works, and the mechanics of leverage is going to help you to climb a mountain. Just understanding that, It's not a path up the mountain. It's the framework within which the stuff works. And so that's metaphysics, all this esoteric stuff, all this vibration and Fibonacci and Phi and all the stuff that I talk about. What can that do for you? How can that help you? Having an understanding of the energetic flows and how things work and how to not jump head first into this pendulum that's coming swinging at you, but to catch onto it and harness it and cast your sail and catch this cosmic energy and be able to guide your manifestations instead of just flipping around through the wind. It's going to help. Having an understanding of that's going to help. It's not a path itself, but it's going to help you along your journey, along whatever path that you do get on. It'll help you even know that there are paths. It'll help you to know that you want to spend time, intention, and attention in developing your ability to quiet your mind, to be in stillness, to be in a space of gratitude, humility, authenticity, to allow this energy to pour through your heart and to resonate as truth, and to recognize the things that resonate as truth, and to find a way of life that allows you to live from this space. And I know if you're caught up in the matter game and the having to work and slug through matter to move matter and material and all this and that, and it's tough, and you got bills to pay and you have to do that. You can't just quit everything and run off, and you can find little ways to give back and to work from that heart space. Whatever it is that you're giving back is, it doesn't have to be given, it doesn't have to be sitting out in the cold fixing cars for free. That's ridiculous. Who would want to do that? If you've got some type of art or vibrance or calling, or you've got something to give to the people, and I know that that's there, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to be pushing papers or doing all the dumb jobs that they've come up with for the sake of having dumb jobs. And that's like touted as like the biggest thing that could ever be done. It's like, oh, we should elect this guy because he created jobs. Why are we creating jobs? We should be creating not jobs, That way people can do stuff that's like actually good. Not that some jobs aren't good. I picked up this high school thing. It's great. I would do it if there was no money, which is important. If you do it if there was no money, it's from your heart space, And it's great, because if we came up with a way to live without money, you'd still do that job. As people think that if we didn't have money, people wouldn't work. That's ridiculous, I'd do this every day if I could. Fix cars for free. It's awesome. If everyone could tune into their heart space and understand this and feel this and be able to lean into this, to not have to, all of this society tells you not to pay attention to that and demonizes that, and go to business school, not art school, I'd love to come volunteer with you on earth stuff, but I gotta do a job. If everybody could tap into that great cosmic creative flow of what they're here to do, the greatest calling, the greatest potential, the thing that you want to do when you have free time, that you would do on your weekends or when you retire, or if you could, you would do whatever it is. If everybody could be doing that, we would live in such an abundant, incredible space. And one day we could all be there. But in that meantime, you could be there. I'm there. I'm there now, doing this. I'm so blessed. I live such an abundant life, rich of experience, relationship, love, and laughter. I'm grateful that you got to be here with me during this time. This is all Cage Free Mechanic. It's another channel I got on YouTube. I've been live streaming today. That's what I'm going to start doing, is live streaming when I'm doing events. Check that out. Thank you guys. Love you.